lie to you guys. This is a long video and I don't want to do it, but I'm going to do it because you guys want me to. So, I could just do this into 2 parts, but I just wanted to watch this video and get it over with because it's been here for a while. And I know someone suggested it, so obviously someone wants to see the reaction. So, I hope it's a good video. It's like 52.5 minutes long. It's a little bit lengthy, you know, a little bit longer than my 10 to 20 minute typical videos. Just a little bit, not too much, you know, just a smidge. It is a Blame It On George video, or Blame It On Horror video.
This video is brought to you by
Shh, I'm not ready yet. George, I don't know. Horror, but still horror. Anyway, whatever. The cult with CIA ties. I don't know what cult means. I've heard that word before, but I don't know exactly what that means. What the fuck does cult mean? Like, isn't it something bad? Sorry guys, I'm stupid. It's like almost midnight right now that I'm filming this, so I'm going to be watching this till about almost 1 a.m. So like, I don't know. What? Cuct? What is a cuct? A cult is a system of religious veneration. Another word I don't know. Terrific. A system of religious... So, of religious stuff. Let's just say that. The religious stuff with CIA ties. What the fuck does CIA stand for again? Crime? No. What the fuck does CIA stand for? Guys, am I stupid or something? CIA. What the fuck is CIA? What do... Meaning. Central Intelligence Agency? I never would have fucking guessed that. Is that what that means? I never would have guessed that. Lord have mercy. I've heard CIA before, but I don't... Whatever. Yeah, if something tells me I'm not going to know what's going on in this video, but we'll see. If I waste 52 minutes of my life, well then I waste 52 minutes of my life. But if you guys like the reaction, then it's worth it, right? I got some water even though I drank it all, right? Almost. But yeah, we're going to sit here for an hour and watch this video. The cult with CIA ties, Blame It On George, Blame It On Horror, Blame It On Horror. George, let's go.
This video is brought to you by Untitled Chapter. With spooky season quickly approaching, now is the time for horror movies, TV shows, and of course, games. But if you want to experience something completely different and unique, then Untitled Chapter is the product for you. Untitled Chapter is a murder mystery box that immerses you in a cold case, and it's up to you to solve it. If you're a fan of true crime, ARGs, or mysteries in general, and you want to test your own detective skills, this is definitely the game for you.
Yeah,
Untitled Chapter was nice enough to give me the summary of the season's box. When Julia Adler finds the corpse of a famous actress in her family's theater, what was previously thought of as a disappearance is revealed to be a murder. With the board of directors trying to push her out and the theater's reputation on the line, she looks to you to discover the truth about this cold case investigation. Each box starts at $25, but by using my discount code Jorge, you can get 20% off your first box.
Jorge.
It's
horror. I told you guys it's horror.
And use the code Jorge to get started on solving your first mystery.
No, it's Jorge,
Thanks
but
again to Untitled Chapter for sponsoring this video.
So it's not exactly horror, or horror, it's horror. May contain material not suitable for some audiences. Viewer discretion is advised. You guys have been warned, I guess.
Your only chance to evacuate is to leave with us.
Cults. They live among us. They walk beside us. They're hidden in plain sight. We like to think that cults operate on a level underneath us, but sometimes it's quite the opposite. In 2019, the FBI Records Twitter account released a 600-page document about their investigation into the Finders cult. The tweet gained a massive amount of attention from online users and conspiracy theorists. Maybe you've heard about this mysterious group from around the internet. You may have even heard about some of the eerie practices this group was said to partake in. Curious myself, I decided to look into the documents, only to find that a lot of their wording was redacted or blacked out. And so it began. I became interested in learning more about this supposed satanic cult from the 80s, but through my research of newspaper articles, official investigation reports, and FBI documents, I honestly wasn't prepared for the mountains of information that waited for me. It really seemed like every other source had something new for me to read. So why isn't this talked about more? In this video, I will try to encompass my research in a straightforward timeline of events. This is the story of the Finder's Cult.
The Finder's Cult. Chapter 1, The Incident. So it's kind of like a book, but it's kind of like a movie in a sense. It is over 50 minutes.
It was the 1980s.
Nintendo. Michael Jackson.
Among the decade's
Cute.
trends of arcade games, horror movies, and big hair, a growing fear was sweeping the United States, known as the Satanic Panic.
To describe this story as horrifying would be an understatement.
The rise of heavy metal music with supposed hidden messages, Dungeons and Dragons, and new stories about satanic cults and rituals taking place fueled the growing hysteria.
The evidence is in. Satan worship and satanic cults are growing rapidly, and adherents of these ideas are becoming more vocal and more dangerous.
But in the end, that's all this was, right? Just hysteria.
It's not.
On Wednesday, February 4th, 1987, an anonymous call was made to the Tallahassee Police Department. The call stated that 2 well-dressed men were seen watching over 6 dirty and unkept children, ages 2 to 7, at a playground in Myers Park, Tallahassee. According to an official report of investigation, the children were covered with insect bites and very dirty. Most of the children were not wearing underwear, and all the children had not been bathed in many days. Whereas the 2 men were found wearing suits and ties. Even more disturbing was their vehicle, a 1979 Dodge van.
Of course it's a van.
Inside the van were maps, books, letters, 20 floppy disks, a computer, and a mattress.
I bet you that van was white.
The vehicle was also described as being foul-smelling, and it appeared as though all 8 of them had been living inside that van for quite some time.
Oh, God.
The 2 men explained to the police that they were the children's teachers, and that they were driving to a school for brilliant children in Mexico.
Uh-huh.
Police asked the men where the children's mothers were, to which they said they were being weaned from their mothers. The men were arrested on multiple accounts of child abuse, and all 8 of them were taken into custody for further questioning.
Yes.
The men identified themselves as Michael Houlihan
Houlihan or Hooligan?
and Douglas Ammerman.
Oh, they look sus as fuck. They look really sus.
When questioned, the 2 men were initially apprehensive to communicate.
Mm-hmm.
Some reports claimed that one of them wouldn't cooperate at all, and would enter a trance-like state.
I wonder why.
Authorities
Because
turned
they
their efforts
sus.
to questioning the 6 children. And this is where things started to get unsettling. The children were identified as Mary Houlihan, Max Livingston,
Houlihan, so that's the
Benjamin
guy's
Franklin,
daughter? What about the ages? So I guess
Honeybee Evans.
2 to 7. Holy fuck. Honeybee.
BB,
BB.
and John Paul Houlihan.
Houlihan. Another Houlihan.
Evidently, these were not the children's real names,
Oh,
because they didn't have proper names.
pardon?
According to the police, 5 of the 6 children were uncommunicative and didn't seem to recognize common items or modern technology, such as typewriters, hot water, or electricity. The 6th and oldest child, Mary, showed signs of sexual abuse. Mary fortunately was able to communicate and give information to investigators.
Good.
Here's some of what she said. Mary confirmed that the 2 men were indeed their teachers. However, she wasn't sure where they recently were or where they were going. When asked what her
Teachers.
last name was, she replied, "Which one?" She stated that they
Hold on.
lived in Washington in a house with other children and adults. She and the other children mainly survived on a raw fruit and vegetable diet,
I guess that's
but
healthy,
were
but you
visibly
need more.
malnourished
But you
and
need more
only
than
fed
that.
as a reward for good behavior.
What?
When asked what the 2 men taught them, she responded with, "How to play games."
What games?
She said they would receive instructions from their leader, a man known as the game caller or game leader. later to be known as a man named Marion Petty.
Okay. Chapter 2, The Hunt.
Based on what Mary said, the Tallahassee police decided to contact the DC police in an attempt to identify the 6 children, only to learn that they were already aware of this group,
Oh, wow.
who called themselves the Finders.
The Finders Cult.
According to a 1987 article from the Washington Post, one of the first newspapers to publicize this event, records from the U.S. District Court in Washington showed that an anonymous, confidential source told authorities that the Finders were a cult that conducted brainwashing techniques at a Northeast Washington warehouse and an apartment building near Glover Park. This source told of being recruited by the Finders with promises of financial reward and sexual gratification, and of being invited by one member to explore Satanism with them.
Oh, God.
According to the affidavit, the source told authorities that the children were used in rituals by the members, and though the source had never witnessed abuse of the children, the source said the children's grandparents feared for their safety.
I would too, it sucks.
And so, on the following Thursday and Friday, Washington police raided these 2 areas that were given to them by this confidential police source.
Okay.
Furthermore, evidence found within the seized vehicle pointed to a 90-acre Virginia farm owned by a man named George Marion Petty. Virginia State Police were contacted to visit and search the area as well. At the warehouse in Washington, police found that the windows were boarded shut, and the building was padlocked with a heart-shaped lock.
Oh, God.
Inside were newspapers and mattresses scattered across various rooms, as if someone had lived there. On one wall were shelves with obscure books, and on the other was a huge map of the entire world.
Interesting.
Most disturbingly, DC police uncovered large plastic bags filled with wallet-sized photographs. According to the U.S. Customs Service, some of these photos were of children, similar to school photos, naked children, children engaged in what appeared to be cult rituals involving the slaughtering of goats with 3 men wearing white robes, and one photo in particular that showed a child in chains.
Oh, my God.
At the apartment building near Glover Park, neighbors were questioned and confirmed that 2 of the photographed children lived in that building. They also explained that only women and children lived there, but that they would occasionally see men visiting the house.
I see.
One woman said that the children were often so dirty that they were easy to notice.
And no one found that
At the
sus
Virginia
that it
farm,
was dirty?
neighbors reported that they often saw vans containing children that were brought to the farm. According to the Tampa Tribune, one of the neighbors, a woman named Wilma Richards, said, "They'd be hollering and crying all the time, like they wanted something, or something was hurting them."
And no one, reported
Wilma
that? I
also
don't get
explained
it.
that when she first met Marion Petty, he introduced himself as a Boy Scout leader. Although her and her husband were suspicious of the dozen or so men and children seen at their farm, they never phoned the authorities. On Friday, February 6th, Scott Hunt of the Tallahassee Police Department said, "It is our belief these kids were not kidnapped, but that their parents gave them away, because one of the rites of passage into this satanic organization is that you have to give up your rights to your children, and that the leaders of this organization can do what they want with your children." It was around this time that a series of telephone death threats were being made towards the 6 children.
Oh, shit.
The calls were described as brief and untraceable. This is strange because the children were transferred to a private foster home, and the police were careful to keep their location a secret. The Palm Beach Post reported that the authorities do not know where the calls originated from or how they located the children. To tell you the truth, we didn't anticipate any death threats against 6 obviously very forlorn children who are in a very sad state.
Yeah,
The
why
fact
death
that we have
threat? I don't
received
get it.
death threats has put us on alert, and these children are going to be guarded around the clock.
Good.
By the weekend, the story of the Finders made national headlines as one of the creepiest mysteries of the 80s. Were the finders involved in satanic rituals with children? Were they instead part of a massive human trafficking ring?
It's possible.
Where are the children's parents?
Yeah, exactly.
And what games were the finders playing?
Yeah. Chapter 3, The Cover-Up.
Amidst all the chaos and mystery, the Tallahassee police managed to get in contact with a man identifying himself as Robert Terrell.
Oh. Disguised.
Terrell and several other members of the finders believed this all to be a giant misunderstanding. That once the police suggested the possibility of a satanic cult, the media blindly accepted it. Their story was published on the Tampa Tribune on Monday, February 9th.
What year?
Terrell sent the police a 2-page memo detailing the finders' activities in order to clear up any misunderstandings. In the memo, the 2 men and 6 children were originally on their way to Berea, Kentucky, where the group was to help establish a retirement community and where the children would be placed in school. However, this trip was delayed. So the group instead went vacationing in Florida with the approval of the children's mothers.
That's even further away, though.
Even the founder and financial developer for this retirement home, Reverend Jim Weicker and Carl Shapley respectively, chimed in to explain that the finders were gentle people, searching for new dimensions in lifestyles. As for the photographs found of naked children and goats being slaughtered, Terrell explained that there were simple, innocent explanations for each. First, he explained that Michael Houlihan was a stepfather to one of the children and the biological father to another.
What does that mean?
The photo of naked children was there because, well, that's what parents tend to have.
I guess.
The goats, on the other hand, were already slaughtered and brought to the group's farm.
It's still kind of
The
sus.
men wore white robes to simply protect their clothing, and thought that the children should be taught the experience. Terrell explained that the parents of all 6 children were members themselves of the finders. However, he also notes that many of the adult members of this group were hiding around the country, fearing arrest. There were several reports of sightings of members in Gainesville, Miami, and Tampa. Police also reported that the mothers of the 6 children were in San Francisco. As for their leader, former members explained that Marion Petty was a retired Air Force Master Sergeant, who, in the late 1960s, started the Finders group. He sought after those who were intelligent and into the counterculture scene. He would lecture them about the New Age way of living and Eastern mysticism. Marion and his followers decided to start a new generation of children that would be raised by them instead of their parents. In reality, they were largely ignored by the members. However, they claimed to not know anything about supposed child abuse or Satanism taking place within the group. And just like that, the finders were seemingly cleared of suspicion.
Wow.
The media and several newspapers reported on the misconception, saying that, although the finders were strange, there was no evidence of illegal activity. Both Houlihan and Ammerman were freed from jail. The charges were dropped, and the case was closed.
Wow.
The whole event vanished from headlines as quickly as they appeared, and the finders were attributed to nothing more than another instance of satanic panic hysteria.
So that's it. What's the next chapter? Behind the scenes. Huh. So what's the other 35 minutes gonna be about this video?
As you may have suspected, the official story given by Terrell in newspapers did not match up, or at sometimes conflict, with the details given by official reports. For example, Terrell claimed that the men and children were en route to Kentucky, despite Houlihan and Ammerman themselves saying they were going to Mexico.
Oh, true.
Furthermore, several women from the Finders cult, who claimed to be the mothers of the children, stated that their kids were well taken care of. They attributed their unkempt and dirty appearance to them just being kids, despite the reports of malnutrition and sexual abuse.
Well, yeah, they can shower.
Let's take a closer look at some
showering?
of these official documents to see what else was suspiciously left out or ignored. On April 13th, 1987, an official U.S. Customs report by Special Agent Ramon J. Martinez was filed. The report mostly follows the same story published by the media. An anonymous call is made about 2 well-dressed and 6 dirty and unkept children in Myers Park, Tallahassee. The 2 men are arrested, and the 6 children are brought in for questioning. Authorities are eventually led to several properties and buildings that are believed to be owned by the finders. At this point, the stories begin to diverge slightly. Agent Martinez comes into contact with Detective Jim Bradley, who had already been investigating the finders since 1985. The 2 inspected the apartment building first, where they found large amounts of clothing for toddlers, such as diapers, and toys. They also uncovered documents with detailed instructions on how to obtain children, including trading, kidnapping, purchasing, and the impregnation of finders' members.
Pardon me?
Within a computer were telex messages from across the country and foreign locations about the purchasing of children.
Oh my god.
One message in particular specifically ordered the purchase of 2 children in Hong Kong to be arranged in the Chinese embassy.
Yeah, I'm just gonna buy you guys. That's not how it
Other
works.
findings include an interest in bank secrecy situations, interest in high-tech transfers to the United Kingdom, numerous properties said to belong to the finders, an interest in terrorism and explosives, and how to avoid law enforcement.
So
What's
obviously there's
strange
something
is that
sus going
they also
on.
found a detailed summary of Houlihan's and Ammerman's arrest in Tallahassee. This is unusual because Houlihan and Ammerman were taken into custody the night before Martinez's and Bradley's investigation, and well before the Washington Post broke the story. So, somehow, the finders were already aware of their arrest, even before mainstream media. They were also given instructions on how to avoid police capture via a computer network. Agent Martinez and Detective Bradley reconnected the next day, Friday, February 6th, to investigate the warehouse on 4th Street. The warehouse contained a large library, 2 kitchens, a sauna, a hot tub, and a video room. Inside the video room was something described as an indoctrination center. Martinez goes on to report that the finders seemed capable of producing its own videos, and that jars of urine and feces were also found.
Ew.
At this location were
Jars.
documents describing explicit sexual conduct between members of the finders. A large collection of photographs were also uncovered, containing images of new children on display,
What?
adults and children in white sheets participating in a blood
Oh
ritual,
my god.
and goats being dismembered, disemboweled, and skinned by the children. Files revealing the activities of the finders in other parts of the world were found, including London, Germany, the Bahamas, Costa Rica, Japan, Hong Kong, Malaysia, Africa,
Jesus.
and Europe. Other files describe the finders' projects, such as one plan titled Pentagon Break-In. If that wasn't disturbing enough, there also seemed to be a large amount of information on families and child daycare organizations. According to this report, the finders would respond to various newspaper advertisements for babysitters, tutors, etc.
6 a.m. to 9 a.m.
A member would
5 days a week.
use this opportunity to learn about the habits, identity, occupation, and so on about the family. For what purposes were unknown to the investigators. Agent Martinez concludes his report with the hope that all the information would be sorted, reviewed, and logged by the Washington, D.C.'s Metropolitan Police Department, or the MPD. If his findings were to be true, this would be a strong case against the finders for child abuse and international human trafficking.
Oh yeah.
However, none of that would happen. On April 2nd, 1987, Agent Martinez was to meet with Detective Bradley to review their findings. However, Bradley was unavailable. A third party, who was willing to speak to Martinez on an off-the-record basis, told him that the investigation into the finders had become a CIA internal matter and was classified as secret. The FBI also withdrew from the investigation, and from that point forward, no further information will be available. No further action will be taken. That's the story according to the U.S. Customs report. However, in 2017, the Tallahassee police documents were acquired and uploaded online, and these documents would reveal much more information that was hidden from the public for 3 decades.
3 decades, wow.
First, an investigation into the finders' vehicle further reveals a few radios, boxes containing clothing, fruits, vegetables, a Chinese English dictionary, a pack of Trojan condoms,
Oh my god.
a brown canvas bag containing photos of children, some nude, computer programming discs,
Of course, what else?
a piece of paper titled The Ballad of Ballads,
What's that
which
mean?
made references to houses in Miami, Hawaii, San Diego, and China, and many, many other items. Second, there was an odd occurrence at Florida State University. According to this report, a student by the name of Robert Sorkine came across a small computer at a public phone booth on campus. During an interview, Robert explained that he was walking past the phone booth when he noticed the computer and took it home with him. During the weekend, he managed to start up the computer and attempted to figure out its owner. Robert discovered information concerning the Tallahassee Police Department and decided to turn the computer over to them. The TPD were able to determine that this computer was owned by somebody involved with the finders.
Oh shit.
Next, 2 of the 6 children, Mary and Max, would describe some of the games the finders would play. One involved taking off the men's clothes, putting them on, and then looking through the pockets. Max elaborated that they would only remove the men's jackets. Another game was taking a shirt with holes, running away with it, and then tearing it up.
Oh my god, that's so fun.
Both Mary and Max also noted that women would come downstairs with no clothes.
Oh my god.
During the interview, some of the other children urinated their pants, and one wanted to go outside to go to the bathroom. After a medical examination from the Tallahassee Department of Health and Rehabilitation Services, this report claimed that 2 children, Mary and Max, were confirmed cases of sexual abuse. Max lacked anal sphincter control, consistent with sodomy, and Mary showed signs of penetration by fingers, but penile penetration wasn't completely ruled out. John Paul
Disgusting.
had bite marks on his arm, but doctors couldn't determine if they were from an adult or a child due to the marks being 5 days to 2 weeks old.
I was to lock all those
As
guys
you can
up.
hopefully tell, these are very serious claims made by both detectives and medical experts.
100%.
Yet, for whatever reason, these reports seem to be ignored.
What?
How is it that the media reported on finding no evidence of satanic cults or illegal activity, yet a mountain of evidence from the Tallahassee Police Department, DHRS, and Ramon Martinez conflicts with that?
Right? Not satanic.
Why didn't the finders' men carry condoms with them? Why were they given a cover story to use if they were caught by the police?
Exactly.
Why were there so many connections to China? The Chinese English dictionary, the files specifying ordering children from Hong Kong, the fact that Mary learned how to count to 10 in Chinese. It would take several years for the Department of Justice to get involved, but eventually they did.
Good. I don't know who that is, but good. Chapter 5, Conspiracy. We got 25 minutes left, my guys. We're about halfway. Yeah, about halfway.
By the
1993.
1990s, Martinez's reports on the finders remained kept away, and the hysteria surrounding the Satanic Panic had subsided. On December 18th, 1993, news broke out that the Department of Justice began looking into the finders, this time under the aura of conspiracy. According to a private detective named Skip Clements, he claimed that the U.S. Customs Service investigators were called off of the investigation by the CIA. The investigation was impeded, said Clements. A senior official at Customs said it, the finders, was a CIA operation.
Okay.
Clements' accusations reached at least 2 members of Congress, who were reportedly unsure what to believe in. Regardless, the Department of Justice began conducting an investigation into whether or not the CIA were involved with the finders.
Oh shit.
However, a CIA spokesperson named David Christian claimed this to be a misunderstanding on Martinez's behalf.
Oh, so
When
it is
Agent
called
Martinez
Central
was told
Intelligence
that the
Agency.
investigation into the finders had become a CIA internal matter, this was actually because one of the members of the finders was employed as a part-time accountant at a computer training school called Future Enterprises, Inc.
Oh shit.
This location was also where employees from the CIA received computer training in the 1980s,
Oh shit,
prompting
so...
an internal investigation.
Wow.
Vice President of Future Enterprises at the time, Joseph Marinich, confirmed that his company did train CIA operatives, but denied any allegations that the CIA used it as a front company for the finders. However, according to the Washington Times, a 1987 police document quotes a CIA agent confirming his agency was sending its people to a Finders Corporation, Future Enterprises, for training in computer operations. It also notes that a later customs report said that the CIA admitted to owning the Finders organization as a front for domestic computer training operations, but that it had gone bad. Make that as you will.
So to me it does seem like they were kind of tied with each other.
In an article by U.S. News, Florida's House of Representative member Tom Lewis states, "Could our own government have something to do with this Finders organization and turn their backs on these children? That's what all the evidence points to, and there's a lot of evidence. I can tell you this, we've got a lot of people scrambling, and that wouldn't be happening if there was nothing here."
Is there another chapter 6?
However,
No?
the
Okay.
finders still uphold their innocence. In an interview between
Innocence.
U.S. News and Marion Petty himself, Petty describes the finders as a company that does freelance journalism, research, and competitor intelligence. He also denies any claims that they work for foreign companies. Petty claims that the reason why the CIA is interested in him and the finders is because his late wife once worked for the CIA. His son also worked for a CIA proprietary firm, Air America. Although the Tallahassee police reports does mention something interesting. When word first broke out about the finders, Lieutenant Lee Hart of the Virginia Police Department got in contact with somebody from the cult. This contact told Hart that Petty had alerted members to flee and hide. He further elaborated that Petty would have probably gone to the Andrews Air Force Base and take a military plane to China. The outcome of the Justice Department's investigation is never made clear in the documents that I was able to uncover. However, I think it's pretty safe to say that the investigation was either concluded or secretly dropped with no actions being placed against the finders or the CIA. Many of the sources I found claim that the finders had fewer and fewer members as the years went on, with some stating that less than a dozen were remaining. The finders were never heard from again after this investigation, and Marion Petty passed away in 2004.
Like, obviously there was some kind of abuse going on, not gonna lie. There was obviously something going on there. Unclassified.
So, here we are, several years later. Now we get to the fun part. In 2019, the FBI Records Twitter account released a 600-page document about their investigation into the Finders cult.
Jesus.
Knowing everything we know now, what was told by mainstream media, what was reported by Agent Martinez, and about the cult members and Marion Petty, let's dive in.
600 pages. Yikes, that's a lot. So what, 200, 200, and 200 pages?
Now, we won't be going through all 600 pages, as a large majority of it is still redacted, but I do want to point out some interesting bits of information in these documents regarding the finders. The Department of Justice, the DOJ, has requested the FBI conduct a preliminary inquiry into allegations made by, I'm assuming, Skip Clements, concerning child sexual abuse by a group known as the Finders, and what role, if any, was played by the United States intelligence community. On February 4th, 1987, Michael Houlihan and Douglas Ammerman were arrested by the Tallahassee Police Department, the TPD, on misdemeanor child abuse charges resulting from a complaint that 6 children playing in a park were unkept and neglected. Houlihan and Ammerman, the 2 subjects with the children, could not initially provide sufficient information as to their legal custody of the children, and were uncooperative regarding their identity and the children's identity. As a result of information developed during these arrests, the TPD contacted the Metropolitan Police Department and provided information concerning, I think, the CIA, and their association with a group known as the Finders, based in Washington, D.C. On February 5th, 1987, the MPD executed search warrants prepared by the United States Attorney's Office, District of Columbia, Washington, D.C., on 2 properties owned by the Finders. Special Agent Ramon Martinez participated in these searches. Department of Justice's review of the United States Customs Service documents indicates that during the execution of the search warrants by the MPD at the 2 Finders properties, the warehouse and the apartment, United States Customs Service Secret Agent Martinez claims to have observed a substantial amount of computer equipment and documents purportedly containing instructions for obtaining children for unspecified purposes.
Buying, like what the fuck?
The instructions allegedly included the impregnation of female members of the community,
Disgusting.
purchasing children, trading children,
Disgusting.
and kidnapping them.
Disgusting.
Martinez claims, and a whole bunch of redacted.
Yeah, why is it all taken out? I don't get it.
Martinez has alleged that the Finders are involved in a well-organized child abuse scheme, and that redacted, probably the CIA, I think, in conjunction with the State Department and the FBI's Foreign Counterintelligence Section, conspired to cover up those abuses. Quick edit, this is definitely the CIA because a later FBI document has the same text, but without the CIA being redacted, so, yeah.
Okay.
This page, real quickly, is kind of weird. Well, it's not really weird. I have difficulty reading this section handled in pen? Something of CIA employees. I had a tough time reading this, but at the very bottom of this letter, said, Finders, definitely not a CIA front. So, if anybody wants to download this and
decode that,
try to interpret it, that'd be great. This part right here is interesting. Redacted, I assume this is Jim Bradley, also advised that he had been told that the documentation had been located in the WMPD files to indicate that Sergeant John Steicher, deceased, who had been a sergeant during the Finder search, had been contacted by a redacted who told them to step away from the Finder's case, allegedly redacted. So someone told them to step away from the case for some reason. Additional search warrant executed on farm in rural Virginia with support by Virginia State Police. No federal involvement. Evidence of satanic/cult ritual discovered. Based on observed documents, Customs agent unsuccessfully attempts to gain access to evidence for detailed analysis, for use in investigating possible exports, Neutrality Act, Mann Act, and child pornography violations. So this agent tried to gain access to the evidence, but was unsuccessful for some reason. And then a big redacted. Blank contacts MPD intelligence and advised that all reports regarding Finders are to be classified at the secret level. Blank also advised that no information was to be turned over to the FBI WFO for investigation, and that the WFO would not be advised of the blank involvement/contact. children discovered in Tallahassee were eventually turned over to the individuals claiming to be parents or guardians. No further NPD,
Claiming to be.
FBI,
It wasn't
or
even
customs
confirmed?
involvement. As far as is known, no details of blank involvement ever became public. Search warrants. Based on the information received from the source and from the authorities in the state of Florida, blank authorized a search warrant for the premises of blank, Washington, D.C. Search warrants were executed for the premises of blank by members of the MPD Intelligence Division on February 5th to 6th, 1987. Although no children were found, large amounts of documents dealing with child rearing and shaping were recovered, along with manuals for master plans and dirty tricks for enemies of the Finders group. All this information was turned over to the Florida authorities for evaluation. And then the medical reports are redacted, and the psychological reports are redacted. 21 former Finders have been interviewed concerning their involvement in the organization. They stated that the organization began as an alternative lifestyle in the 1960s, and many of them became disenchanted with the quasi-military order under the direct supervision of blank. Many of the former members stated that they feared retribution from the Finders organization. In the case of blank, she needed police intervention to stop the harassment of the Finders. In the blank case, redacted, was burned down and remains an open arson. In the blank case, members of the Finders attempted to infiltrate blank in the United States.
Why is it like redacted?
In general,
I don't get it.
all
Why is
members
it
of the
blocked?
Finders who had left the group felt that harm would come to them if they spoke out against blank, I'm assuming Marion Petty, or his organization. Detective Blank interviewed all the family members who were willing to talk. Specifically, they all stated that Blank had brainwashed their children and prevented any contact with either their children or grandchildren. Members of the Finders, according to family members, would stop any contact by sending letters describing explicit sexual acts involving current members, including photographs and drawings. In the Blank case, members of the Finders attempted to take over the Blank family residence and force Blank out of her home. I might know who this is, but we'll get to that later. Special Agent Blank of the Virginia State Police stated that his organization executed search warrants at the Finders farm in Madison County, Virginia. Blank stated that this group appeared to be a survivalist organization with attempts to take over the city government in Culpeper, Virginia. During Virginia State's investigation, information was revealed that bodies were buried on the farm at the Nethers, but excavation revealed nothing. However, cages were discovered on the premises that witnesses revealed were used to keep children during their visits to the farm. FBI investigation. The FBI had contact with the Finders since 1971, including a recent report dealing with CIA involvement with at least one of the members of the Finders, passing information overseas concerning activities of the Central Intelligence Agency. When it became apparent that no federal laws were violated, the FBI vacated the investigation. Summary. It is the writer's belief that the Finders organization is and has been utilized by the Central Intelligence Agency as a disinformation service spreading non-essential, non-critical information to various organizations throughout the United States and overseas. This group, to the most part, is made up of overeducated non-achievers who lacked the inborn initiative to succeed on their own.
They spelled there wrong.
Therefore, they fell in with a charismatic leader who gave them directions and self-importance. To the most part, this organization individually is harmless. However, when directed and monitored by a controlling factor, they are capable of destructive and illegal activities.
Apparently.
As in any cult structure, the main drive is for the group, and individual values and ideology is lost. Therefore, when a member is asked to perform a task that heretofore may have been objectionable, he or she performs this mission for the good of the group. As to the abuse of the children, I do not think that child abuse was a planned tactic of this group. But as in any cross-section of society, sick and demented subjects belong to a cult as well. I do believe that the shaping of the children is a planned experiment of this group. As in the case of the Nazis, they strove for a perfect society, thereby in their own way tried to form a group of children and ultimately adults that did not suffer from the ills of normal society, but took only the benefits that afforded them perfection. Lastly, I do not feel that the finders have disbanded, as reported by their leaders, but instead, as reported in their master plan, have appeared to disband to prevent further detection by law enforcement or social service officials. I firmly believe that this group should be monitored in a general sense, and if further developments occurred, they should be noted.
100%.
The second of these FBI files contains newspaper articles and a redacted version of the Tallahassee police reports, so we'll be skipping over that. The Ballad of Ballads can also be found. It's an interesting read, but we'll also skip it. Remember earlier when it was mentioned that ex-members feared for their safety? Here's a small tidbit about it. Redacted, Petty I believe, operates out of a multi-apartment residence located at blank, and uses telephone numbers blank. He has used a number of bank accounts to hide the funds obtained from the group members. Petty also utilized a warehouse located at blank. This location is a front for the organization and operates as a few distribution points for the needy. Blank is currently blank. However, Petty will not tolerate anyone leaving the cult. Blank feels his experience to date with respect to the harassing letters and threats have all been related to his attempt to leave the cult. Petty also uses group members as enforcers to apply physical pressure as well as psychological pressure. He identified these individuals as blank. Blank is reputed to be blank. Both individuals are violence prone. Blank said Petty's harassment campaign utilizes letters to apply psychological pressure, and these are followed up by personal visits from blank. Blank believes both of these individuals also perpetuate the arsons ordered by blank. Probably Petty. Blank related an incident occurring in January 1983, which involved cult member Barbara Sylvester Matija, who attempted to leave the cult. She was physically restrained in blank residence. Matija subsequently became ill and required medical attention. Blank refused to allow her to obtain this attention, and she died on the premises. Blank said he does not believe that there was any police investigation of the death.
The fuck?
On October 22nd, 1991, the undersigned received a telephone notification from Officer Blank. Officer Blank advised that he and two footmen have observed activity which they believe is suspicious in nature. The officers have observed numerous well-dressed males who operate rental cars and expensive luxury-type models enter the building located at blank at late and early morning hours. The subjects and their vehicles do not fit the area in which this building is located, namely the market area of any. On at least one occasion, the officers have observed adult males with a young male child enter the building. This occurred after the midnight section had reported for duty on the streets. On another occasion, Officer Blank stopped a van after it was observed leaving the building in the early morning hours. The van displayed tags which were not listed to a van. The operator identified himself as Blank. He told the officer that he did research stuff.
What's that mean?
He also stated that he babysat children for diplomats.
My ass.
The officer advised the undersigned that the building and the neighborhood is not fit for babysitting activity, especially after midnight. The subject's story was very suspicious to the officer.
Facts.
The van is listed to blank, white male. The vehicle is described as blank.
It's probably a white van, I'm not kidding.
The officer advised that to the best of his recollection, this building is the same building which was raided by police approximately blank years ago for some type of child pornography. Now, the finders aren't mentioned here, But the fact that this is in the finder's files leads me to believe that this building, which was seen with well-dressed males and at least one child, was the same building used by the finders. Okay, so this portion of the video was way longer than I expected, so we're just going to go over one last page before I close things off. Blank was interviewed within the Office of General Counsel, Central Intelligence Agency, Langley, Virginia. After being advised as to the identity of the interviewing agent and the purpose of the interview, Blank provided the following information. Blank advised that he retired from the CIA on blank. He indicated that in February 1987, he was blank, Special Activities Division, Office of Security. Blank stated that his date of birth was blank, and his social security account number blank, and that he's a white male. Blank related that the Special Activities section within the Office of Security was responsible for counterintelligence work, to include internal investigations of CIA employees, media leak investigations, and investigations dealing with the impersonation of CIA employees. Blank indicated that his office had a regular interface with the Federal Bureau of Investigation, the United States Department of State, and the Defense Intelligence Agency. Blank was shown photocopies of his February 18, 1987 memorandum and a February 19, 1987 Washington Metropolitan Police Department report of investigation, both documents concerning the Finders Group. Blank was then asked to relate his recollection of the circumstances regarding his memo and the Finders Group. Blank related that his first involvement with the Finders Group most probably began in 1987 as a result of the media's coverage of the Finders investigation. Blank advised that the media at the time was indicating that the Finders had some connection to the CIA. Blank related further that he had looked into the matter and recalled that there were only 2 connections between the CIA and the Finders Group. Blank stated that the first connection was that, and then the next 3 pages are redacted. So yeah, all that's gone.
Interesting.
If nothing else, I hope this video helps people understand the Finders, as it feels largely ignored. Although there definitely was a lot of paranoia about satanic cults during the 80s, and admittedly, people do tend to fear the worst, I think the mystery of the Finders is more complicated than that. In order to believe the official story, one would have to discount a large amount of other evidence and official documentation. Did Martinez imagine or lie about his findings? Did the medical experts incorrectly reported that 2 of the Finders' kids showed signs of sexual abuse? If you want a much more in-depth look into the Finders, I recommend The Conscious Resistance. He's done a lot of research into the Finders, even before the FBI released their documents. His channel has an interview with Robert Terrell, where he still defends the group to this day. I also recommend We've Read the Documents. They've gone into this way more than I have, and I've admittedly left some details and names out. But this video should be a good brief overview of the Finders. So, where are the Finders now? They live among us. They walk beside us. They're hidden in plain sight. During the 1987 interview with ex-members, one said, "This is a group that for 15 or 20 years has done nothing but practice flexibility and invisibility. You will never find them."
That's creepy as fuck, not gonna lie. I can't believe I just sat here for 52 minutes. I literally just sat here for 52 minutes, guys. Okay, I really need you guys, since this is a super long video, I need you guys to let me know if you did watch the whole thing, because I really appreciate if you guys watch this whole thing with me, which is the whole point of me doing the video. But, so if you guys are here, I really appreciate that, especially considering it's a very long video. Of course, normally my videos are not this long at all, as you guys know. I don't even know what to say about this video, to be honest. Like, obviously it's really fucked up in the sense of, like, all the abused children, like they were the teachers, like condoms, naked, photos of them, like sexual abuse. Like, I don't even know what to say about this, because, like, I don't know exactly know what, like, a satanic cult means. Like, What is a satanic cult? Let's just see what that means. Satanic panic is a moral panic consisting of over 12,000 satanic ritual abuse. Yeah, so it's just mainly about abuse, I guess. I don't really know much about that, and of course, because it is like almost now 1 a.m., as you guys almost know, it's almost 1 a.m. at the time of me filming this. To me, I'm just kind of like confused, and I did just work 8 hours, so I'm also kind of sleepy too. But I did try to fully understand everything, but obviously I don't, which I don't think you guys would fully understand this either, because like who the fuck would? I don't even think Blame It On Whore knows it all either, you know what I mean? I don't know, it's crazy to think, like this is from the 80s and stuff like that, like the CIA was involved, it seems like they weren't involved, it seems like a lot of information is being left out. It's like what's true, what's not. It's like, again, like the media, like you just never know with the media, but like, and then the cops obviously investigated, the CIA, then the Department of Justice or something like that, and it's just like everyone got involved. And it seems like there's not even any like confirmed, did this actually happen, yes or no? Did this actually happen, yes or no? You know what I mean? It just seems like there's so much unknown information still that like obviously we don't know about. And it seems like they've done nothing for 15, 20 years. I feel like those two individuals that were involved that may have died, considering it's like 40, 45 years later. So they definitely could have passed away by now. But yeah, obviously a very fucked up thing all around, altogether, very fucked up thing. Like I don't understand how this happens or how you do this kind of stuff. Like it just, I'll never understand how people are like this and how people do stuff like this. But if you guys did enjoy the video, be sure to give it a like. If you guys fully understand what was said in this video, please comment down below a nice long comment. I'll read it, see if I can understand it myself. So please comment that down below if you guys know. And yeah, like, comment, subscribe, and recommend more blameitonjorge videos. I know there's a lot more. And yeah, I'll see you guys next one. Thanks for watching. Deuces. Peace.